afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this debate session. Our debate today is going to focus on the innovations of the new and lower secondary school curriculum. We want to see how will it improve the performance and enhance development and livelihood in Uganda. We have the hints that the minister has proposed about this curriculum, and we see that the main objectives of that curriculum were that it will improve the students' engagement, it will foster critical thinking, and also prepare the students for real-world applications of physics in daily life and industry. I have some panelists here with me. They will help us dissect these issues. We want to see how the new lower secondary school curriculum will improve the student engagement, foster critical thinking, and prepare students for real-world applications based on their own reasons. So we want to see how it focuses on practical learning, experiments, and real-life applications, how this curriculum helps to bring all that to the table. I'll introduce my members here. They'll introduce themselves, then we set off for the debate. My name is Julius Chibuka, and I will be the moderator of this debate. I begin from this side.
So, moderator.
Yes.
My name is Sam James. On the supporting side of the motion.
Supporting that the new lower secondary school curriculum will improve performance and enhance development and livelihood. Yes, next to him.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Atonjiri Samantha Sarah, and I'm also here, just as Mr. Kusango has mentioned, I'm also here to give my view on how the physics curriculum will improve performance and innovation.
Thank you. We go to this side. Yes.
Good afternoon, viewers outside there. My name is Commander Arnold, a panelist tonight, and I will be giving views about how the physics curriculum is going to affect or is not going to be implemented to the best.
Thank you. Madam on my left first.
Good evening, viewers. My name is Kavarungi Janet May. As for me, we are here talking about this new curriculum, about how it is going to aid development or how it is going to either way deteriorate it. And me personally, I'm against this new curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've heard a little from them. So we want to dive into this topic tonight. We want to see how the new curriculum will help improve and enhance performance and livelihood. Madam Samantha, the first question goes to you. How do you think this new curriculum will help improve student performance?
Thank you again for the opportunity. So how I think the curriculum will improve student performance is we have seen this curriculum implemented, and in its implementation we see there's a lot of encouragement into the use of hands-on experiments and even other activities that push the learners to do these activities other than what the former curriculum had, where they only learnt about these concepts in theory and ended there. However, these days we see people learning in practice. That is, when someone is to do someone is learning about electricity, they'll be taken to the laboratory and they'll see how a circuit is made, where the resistor is placed, where the battery or the power source is placed, where each and every component will be placed, and they're able to do all those activities. And for me, I think there's this saying that says when we see, we forget, when we hear, we forget, but when we do, we remember. So when learners are doing these activities, something they have done with their own hands, they will definitely be able to remember when time comes for them to recall that work to memory. So I think that helps them to improve their performance. And then also the several experiments that we see. We have seen the curriculum coming up with project work. It's bringing in an aspect of learners having to come up with an idea that they're developing, either from community problems or even from simply the concepts they're doing in class. And so these learners are tasked with so many things that they have to do in the project planning, implementation, and finally the assessment. So these learners will be able to finally come up with a better way to explain the concept when they have been able to understand it from this side of the project.
That's how they will improve the student performance, that if they have a hands-on experience. But the question, he has a question for you.
I would like to ask you are talking about the projects and the experiments, but let's look at the country in Uganda where this curriculum is being implemented. And we have different regions in Uganda. We have central, northern, eastern, and western. Here in central, at least we can see, if you look at the infrastructures where these people are going to do, where the students are going to do the experiments from, at least you can be able to say, yes, they have the materials. But now let's look at a village, let's say in eastern Uganda, for example. These schools, some of them are not having even structures where these students are going to sit just for the theoretical part before they go for the project and the experiment. How about the materials? Where would they put those materials for the projects? For example, I would like you to enlighten me on that.
From my experience, I believe that a project does not have to be something extreme or broad, but an idea that is developed from society-based items. That is, in the village, there are so many things learners are exposed to that this person may not necessarily need to see a beaker, but they can see a tin maybe that was having Vaseline or something else that could have been in the tin. So you may not need to give this child a beaker, but they have seen a tin and they've seen maybe an idea of what a beaker, they know an idea of what a beaker is. So this project does not necessarily require them to have, I would call them fancy materials for them to be able to come up with an idea. Simple items. For us, we are picking something from the community to help the community. That is where innovation comes in, because you're not necessarily going to need to come up with, to use something that has already been there. You come up with your own thing. You're pushing a child to think for themselves.
Yes, that's at that stage. How about when we go to the assessment? Yes, this one has used the Vaseline tin, which was empty, picked it from somewhere, but there is a student who has used a beaker, a real beaker, and has experienced how it works. There are some markings. They're saying, let's measure this amount of a chemical. There are even some markings. Then there is a student in the village who has used the Vaseline tin also to do the same experiment. Let's talk about the experiment maybe. And they are going to be assessed in one exam. How will they consider in this new curriculum?
My thought on that is that when they're setting these questions, the setters are trained to know that there is someone out there who is able and who is willing and very much financially able to acquire these items. However, there is also that person in the village, because they know that the schools exist, so they also know what these schools are able to do and what they're not able to do. However, that does not stop the schools in the village from attaining or acquiring some of these materials because of the excuse. So it does not necessarily mean that these people are going to be assessed on a different basis. However, they are going to give a limitation that if someone overpassed or someone overfailed, there is that consideration. There is a limit in between for the two people, the two categories.
As we go away from that, I'd like to pose a question to you, which you may answer after he has given us his view, that we are setting a ground for all that to happen. The teacher has trained enough to implement this. Are they trained enough, or do we have the resources enough for it to be implemented? I go to this side. I would like to ask Mr. Arnold, who opposes the fact that the curriculum will not help improve the students' performance. Why would you say that the curriculum will not help improve students' performance?
Thank you for that question. I want to bring out two views in this. I want to talk about the infrastructures and then talk about the teachers who are going to be used to implement this curriculum. On the grounds that we are teachers, I want us to look into when they were implementing this curriculum, they didn't give enough space for those teachers who were teaching the old curriculum to train better in this new curriculum. So now the challenge is coming into is they are just shifting from the other old curriculum to start implementing this new curriculum without training, meaning that they are not having prior knowledge that they are equipped to implement this new curriculum. If I'm to take an example for the previous school practice that we were in, you reach a school, the fact that you have found those teachers whom you are calling they are your superiors, your seniors, they are again looking again onto you, that at least to you who is from campus, you have been given some ideas about this new curriculum. So there is still that confusion. Then let's go about the resources. The government itself is failing to put up the resources that are going to be used in the curriculum. If I'm taking an example of the textbooks that are going to guide these learners, the learners' books, you find the class has 120 students, but the government was able to supply 50 books to that particular class. And in that, it means that if you take a ratio, almost 70 students are in class, but they are not having those guiding books for this particular new curriculum. So in the end, you will see that a teacher who was supposed to implement the new curriculum is again going back to the old curriculum, where he's going to just speak, explain concepts, and there will be no practical bit of it because some students are missing the guiding materials. So that's my view. Now let me talk about now the infrastructures. So we are talking about the projects in the new curriculum, experiments in the new curriculum, but we are not looking at the space that we have in these schools. If I'm to talk about a project, let's say these students are coming out with some projects that are really going to be implemented, and these projects need space. If I'm to take an example, a student of physics would like to set up, let's say, a tank at school, but now the materials to start that tank, let's say the basement for it, the bricks, the sand, the cement, all those things will need enough space to accommodate what? That project. But in the end, we see that these schools are lacking the space to put up these projects. Then also for the experiments, where to do the experiments from, you find a laboratory which is very squeezed. There are the space for materials and the space for the students is not enough. So there is that free reliance in this new curriculum that is not what being seen.
Allow me just pose to you one simple question. Do you want to mean that they should instead now shift from classrooms and turn them to become laboratories for students to perform experiments?
I'm not saying like so, but these experiments have to be done in the laboratories, of which some experiments you may not necessarily bring materials in the class, but we need laboratories. So if the government is to implement this new curriculum, let it first set those infrastructures like the laboratories where these experiments are going to be done, but not bringing the experiments before the infrastructures.
So it is the infrastructures that they have to come with first.
Yes, that's it.
I think you want to answer what?
Yes, I want to maybe, I don't know, but Mr. Renard, like you said that there are some experiments that need to be done in the laboratory, or even some projects that would require you to do, but then I'm thinking of these learners are told to be creative, they're told to be innovative. I do not necessarily need to be in a space for me to do a project. Sometimes I have to do a project that may not necessarily need me to be in that space. For example, there are those community-based projects where maybe I need to establish a borehole. I am not going to put the borehole in school because the community will need to come to school to fetch the water, which is not proper, to disorganize the school's activities. The other issue, maybe he mentioned about laboratories. The government has put up inspectors of schools for each district, and if we know very well, we know that those inspectors come to schools to check for quality services. That is, to check if the school, what we say, standards of providing the service of education to the natives, to the citizens, to the children. So if we find this school is not in the right way, definitely the inspectors are required to write a report and advise for a closure, or maybe advise for what needs to be done. So I expect and I think and I believe that we are actually having schools that have the laboratories and they have what they need. Please mark me right, they have what they need, not extra, but what they need.
And you think it is enough? All what they need is what you are calling what they need is enough?
I'm saying it is what they need because if I deem my number of students, if my highest number of students is 100, and UNEB provides for more than one practical for a session, and maybe financially I'm only able to buy 50 setups or maybe 30, I can still organize for 3 practicals to be done. That is, each lab will have maybe 40. I mean, I'm using an estimate of the highest number of students I've ever had for my seating is 100. So if I use 40 setups for each practical, that means I can have those 3 practicals done in the different times by the students. So that is what I need. It is not extra, but it is enough for the people that I have.
Now, drawing away from that point, I've seen one of the objectives of that curriculum is that it will help enhance development and livelihood. Is it to the student or to the entire country?
I think Mr. Kisango can tell us more about that.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Okay. For this new curriculum, for me, I think it will improve the development. It will enhance the development and improve on the livelihood of the learners. The reason that I'm putting down is this new curriculum, it enables, it provides learners with opportunities. For example, a learner in this new curriculum, we said it is hands-on. So learners start manipulating these things. From these complex things, she can now know how to make something, okay, to come up with a balloon. You can see that a learner knows how to make a bulb, and these bulbs will be used by any, for example, the school can buy
from the learners.
Yeah.
So do they have the necessary materials that enable them make those bulbs in schools?
That is another issue, but for that thing of the materials, I think
The government needs to invest in more.
yeah, the government need, but this new curriculum was brought because they knew what is required. For example, the resources are required. So with time, the government is first trying to see whether is it working or not. If it works, you will see that things will change.
So it is a trial and error.
Yeah.
If
But
it fails,
for me, according to me,
mm,
this new curriculum is very good.
compared to the one we had.
Yeah. Because
Mr. Gusango, I want to say something, and I'm opposing you. You all agree with me that we are not ready as a country. The curriculum got implemented, but you agree with me that we were not ready for it. We are not ready, there are no resources. Do you agree with me that we don't have enough resources to make it go higher, to make it thrive, this new curriculum you're talking about? Like you're saying, we are trial and error. What's that? Why didn't we first wait and make sure we have enough resources to implement it?
Yes, talk about resources.
now the resources are becoming full. But
Meaning that we were really not ready for this new curriculum. You don't start on something when you're not ready for it. Seriously.
How do we deal with the issue of resources as we implement this?
for me,
Yes, madam? You have something?
The issue of resources, we can work on it by improvising with what we have. Because if we keep on postponing, if we keep on saying we are not ready, then when shall we be ready? It's not every day that we're not going to ever come up with a budget that is going to fully supply us with what we need. We already have a deficit budget, so we are not going to be able to have what we need if we keep saying we wait until we have what we need. So the best option, personally, I think, is to use what we have, yes, to make sure that we be able to provide the service, because we are looking at a nation, we are building a nation. Mr. Gusango was explaining something about improving livelihood. We are looking at improving livelihood of the learners. And if we are trying to improve the livelihood, we are looking at different aspects. Let us not be constrained by resources. In economics, we say that resources are scarce. They'll always be scarce, right? So we can never have enough. So until we understand that, then we can then be able to learn to work with what we have.
So we shall just improvise how addressing the issues of the broader economic, social and economic issues will come later after we've improvised with this. Okay.
How about if it fails? What will be the next step for these implementers?
When you say it fails, then there is a reason why it has failed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And right now what we are discussing are resources. But if we look at other factors that are under this curriculum, is it only resources? No, I don't think so. And however, we've seen that the government is doing what it can. For example, in terms of teacher training, in terms of resources. Before, we did not have all these books, learners' books, but we see a good number of schools are acquiring these books. And even then, those books not being able to reach every learner is not something we can say that can stop the curriculum or can stop the development of this curriculum, in that if a teacher is able to guide learners and then these learners pick up the concept, like I said, we are looking at having creative minds, we are looking at pushing people to do out of their own understanding, to be innovative. So we don't expect that I am going to basically follow the book, because the new curriculum learners books are like the textbooks of the old curriculum. So if I follow every
resources I don't think we can just, because still, however much it may not remain clear, but I just leave it to the audience out there. This is just open to you to create counter arguments about it. You can share your view to us that we shall later tweet on this on our social media channels. I would like to hear from the lady this side. We want to get your views about this lower secondary school. You said you oppose the fact that the curriculum has been implemented. Why do you want to say so?
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, and thank you all of you, my colleagues and the audience. So this new curriculum, Ms. Samantha talked about hands-on, and yes, we know this curriculum focuses on hands-on experiments and work other than the theory. But at the end of the day, I believe we need both. We need the theory and the hands-on experiments or practicals, whatever you may call it. And we see that this new curriculum is focusing so much on hands-on. And remember, we are following a syllabus at the end of the day. Not so, teachers, we are following a syllabus. And the syllabus has to be completed. So as per my school practice experience, you focus on doing a certain experiment in order to introduce something, a concept to the students, but at the end of the day you end up wasting, I'll call it wasting all your time in doing something that is so practical, forgetting the theory part of it, and at the end of the course, let's say a term, you've not covered what you had planned to cover because you waste time. You have to go to the field, do this, and then come back to class. Really. Then the other thing is job market. Are we sure of the job market? Is it really giving enough skills to these learners that we shall be sure of the job market? Because currently we see very many graduates, physics graduates. It's not just the physics knowledge that we are getting. We cannot, there are very many graduates that are not employed. So what do you have to say about that?
I think the question goes to this side. I don't know who can answer that.
Okay. Thank you. Once again, Mr. Moderator. This new curriculum was brought in because we were producing, the education system of Uganda was producing students or graduates who are mainly knowledge-based. So they brought in this new curriculum to solve that problem of unemployment, increased unemployment. In that, if a student from O level, or starting from O level, knows how to weld these metals, what, he or she will finish senior 4 when at least he has some skills that he or she can apply in the world. Yeah, making it some bit of job creation. So we are solving that problem of unemployment.
So we solve it by scrapping out the irrelevant information that we were giving to the students and making it practical.
Yeah.
Is it what you want to say?
Yeah, for example, I can also take an example of these engineers. You can see that you go to our city today, you bring one mechanic, is a mechanical engineer, but when he doesn't know to repair a machine, the engine of a car, that is it. Even it applies to all those civil engineers. They pretend they know, but they know the theory part.
Okay, I have a question that we are posed to me, and I think in the side. goes to this way that someone says that we are looking at the curriculum, but it is like a Ugandan-based curriculum. What if after studying someone goes to Tanzania? Where is that person? What is that person going to do when they leave this country and go to somewhere else?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chiku, for the question. I think that the curriculum came and it changed from the old one. However, the credentials or the documents are not changing, in that when someone has finished their study in high school, they are awarded a certificate. And if it is what I need for me to get a job in Tanzania, I still have it. In addition to that, we have said that the curriculum is more of practical and less theoretical. If I get my practical abilities from here in Uganda, there is nothing wrong with applying them in Tanzania. I mean, the jobs in Uganda are not any different from Tanzania. The only difference is with the societies, which also do not differ so much. However, I think that whatever we are doing here is right, and it is on the right path, that even then, when I move out of the country, I'm still going to get my job. I'm still going to get where I belong.
On the world standard still. Then I pose a question to this side. When you say that the curriculum is not right, you argue with the former curriculum that we have been using. On which grounds do you stand on to convince the public that all what you studied since you joined school has been relevant? Because that was the knowledge-based curriculum. You found out that you studied history. Are you still using it? You studied a lot of geography. You still use that geography? Oh, it is better that they scrap off some of the information used to study about the Rhinelands, which someone told me that up to from the current information and statistics, what we study is not what happened in Tanzania. Information was of long ago. Studied about cocoa growing in other nations, in Ghana, which is now not relevant in the current situation and standards. So how do you say that the curriculum at school, yet it is giving us substandard information?
On that note, thank you for that question. We are not saying that the curriculum is completely bad, but we are looking at the way how it is being implemented. So on your question, we are saying, like, on the note of that we are physics students. So previously, when we were studying physics, we could see that it is first the theory part of it, then later the practical does what? The practical comes. So personally, I'm saying that if at all we first get the knowledge, then we go into practical. It is better than first going into practical and then you come back to the what? To the theory. So that's the way I'm looking at it.
That is your argument.
Yes, my argument is theory, then go for practical.
Practical.
Not
life.
practical, then come back to the what? The theory.
My producer says we are left with 7 minutes, and I would like us to sum up this discussion. I would like to ask the panelists here to give us their view or their concluding remarks about the innovations of the new secondary school physics curriculum. I begin from this.
I think what I would like to end with is that let us embrace the curriculum. Let us not try to look at the loopholes while ignoring the good part of it, because in the process of setting the curriculum, we are looking at coming up with learners who are able to do something, not learners who are able to remember something. However, of course, you cannot do unless you remember. So what we are doing is we are creating a set of students, a set of citizens students who are coming up with what they're able to do, how much are they able to do. And in all this, we are looking at it by incorporating all these activities of more doing and less reading or talking. In that, even in that doing, they're able to be told. You can incorporate all that being told into that doing. That, of course, when I'm doing something, my teacher is there to guide me by telling me what I'm supposed to do next. So after that, I am able to come back and write it down. So let us embrace the curriculum by being open to the changes.
Thank you very much. What are your conclusions about?
For me, I conclude like my friend Samantha Colin. Let us still follow the new curriculum, because the good thing the government is trying to invest in is trying to at least train this ongoing training of teachers. Let us continue with the curriculum. The government will be the good thing. We carry out some research and see what is being needed in the curriculum. So the government will be putting highlights on. We shall be putting highlights on those demanding ones, so that the government will solve this problem.
Thank you very much. Mr. Harold, what would you say? What improvements do you want to be made?
This is my conclusive remark. I have not said that the curriculum shouldn't be implemented, but this goes to the government outside there. That let's look at equity, because this equity is going to help us to be at a balance as the whole country. So if they are at all implementing this curriculum, if they are providing resources, let them provide resources which are equal to every region of the country. That's it. Because this is going to help us in assessment. Because at least we shall be knowing Central got this information which is equivalent even to those in the rural areas. So government should do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We started with the lady. Let the lady end the show. Yes.
Thank you so much. What I would say in my conclusion is not any different from what I said at first. I'm against this new curriculum, and what I'm saying is that let's not start on something that we are not ready for. There is an imbalance. You can't, if you compare what's happening in schools in the urban areas and the rural areas, there's a very huge imbalance, if you all agree with me. So I'm still against the new curriculum, and I'm still with the old curriculum, because it's not like we didn't have practicals in the old curriculum, and we had 4 years of studying of O level. Then you go to A level and you choose what you really want to do, what you want to focus on, then go to campus and take it further. Thank you.
Yes, she's still against the new curriculum. I would like to put this discussion open to the audience, that they may think about what steps are necessary to bridge the gap between physics education and real world development. Let us try to think about the future of science education in Uganda. Thank you for viewing this, all those who have been tuned on. Thank you for giving it time. Allow us to end it to this.